He was a shepherd boy who became a king, a warrior who united an entire nation. But the same man who famously defeated the giant Goliath couldn't seem to conquer his own inner demons. This is the incredible and tragic story of how King David built a glorious kingdom, only to watch his own family tear it apart from the inside out. Our story begins not in a palace, but in the humble fields of Bethlehem. Here, a young shepherd named David tended his father's flock, but he was marked for a destiny far greater than he could have imagined. The prophet Samuel, guided by a divine hand, anointed him as the future king of Israel. It was a promise of greatness, a seed of a kingdom yet to come. David's early life was defined by his unwavering faith and extraordinary courage. These qualities were put to the ultimate test in the valley of Elah, where the armies of Israel faced the terrifying Philistine champion, Goliath. While seasoned soldiers trembled, David, armed with only a sling and 5 smooth stones, stepped forward. This legendary battle wasn't just a surprising victory. It was a powerful statement to the entire nation. Israel had finally found its champion, its future king. After the death of King Saul, David's destiny was fulfilled. He ascended to the throne and embarked on the monumental task of uniting the scattered, warring tribes of Israel. He was a brilliant military strategist and a charismatic leader. He captured the city of Jerusalem, establishing it as the nation's political and spiritual capital. Under his rule, Israel entered a golden age of strength, unity, and unprecedented prosperity. It seemed David could do no wrong. His kingdom flourished, his people were secure, and his legacy seemed set in stone. But at the very peak of his power, at the height of his success, a single moment of weakness changed the course of his life and his kingdom forever. One evening, walking on the rooftop of his palace, his eyes fell upon a woman of extraordinary beauty. Her name was Bathsheba. Consumed by lust, David sent for her, and they spent the night together. In the weeks that followed, a message arrived that would seal their fate. Bathsheba was pregnant. There was just one enormous problem. Bathsheba was already married. Her husband was Uriah the Hittite, one of David's most dedicated and loyal soldiers, who was away fighting for his king and country. Panic set in. To conceal his sin, David's mind began to twist, turning from a king into a conspirator. He first tried to trick Uriah into going home to his wife, but Uriah's unwavering integrity shamed the king. He refused to enjoy the comforts of home while his comrades were on the battlefield. Desperate, David's plan took a much darker turn. He wrote a letter, sealed it, and handed it to Uriah himself. The letter was a death warrant. It instructed his general, Joab, to place Uriah on the front lines of the fiercest fighting and then withdraw, leaving him to be killed by the enemy. The plan worked exactly as designed. Uriah the Hittite, the loyal soldier, died for a king who had betrayed him. With Uriah gone, David married Bathsheba, believing his terrible crime was buried forever. He was wrong. The court may have been silent, but heaven was not. The prophet Nathan was sent to confront the king. He didn't come with accusations, he came with a story. A parable about a rich man who stole a poor man's only beloved lamb. David, incensed by the injustice, declared that the rich man deserved to die. Nathan's response was simple, powerful, and utterly devastating. You are the man. The judgment that followed was swift and heartbreaking. The prophet declared, "The sword shall never depart from your house." David's sin would not remain a secret. Its consequences would ripple through his own family, creating a legacy of violence and sorrow. The first blow fell almost immediately. The child born from David and Bathsheba's affair fell gravely ill and died, despite David's desperate prayers and fasting. But this was only the beginning of his heartbreak. The darkness that David had unleashed now began to infect his own household, just as the prophet had foretold. The curse took root in the next generation. His eldest son, Amnon, became obsessed with his beautiful half-sister, Tamar. He committed a horrific crime against her, then cast her aside in shame. The royal family was fractured, Tamar was devastated, and her full brother Absalom was filled with a cold, simmering rage. For 2 years, Absalom waited, hiding his hatred behind a mask of civility. Then he exacted his revenge. He invited Amnon to a feast and had his servants murder him. With his brother's blood on his hands, Absalom fled Jerusalem and lived in exile. King David was now a father who had lost one son to murder and another to exile, all stemming from the poison he himself had introduced into his family. Years passed, and through political maneuvering, Absalom was eventually allowed to return to Jerusalem. But he did not come with forgiveness in his heart. He came with ambition. He was handsome, charismatic, and cunning, very much his father's son. He began a quiet, calculated campaign to undermine the king, standing at the city gates, listening to the people's grievances, and promising them the justice his father supposedly denied. He stole the hearts of the people of Israel, piece by piece. Finally, the time was right. Absalom launched a full-scale rebellion against his own father. The kingdom that David had painstakingly built and united was now plunged into a brutal civil war. It was father against son, army against army. David, the once mighty king, was forced to flee his own capital, a fugitive once more, weeping as he left the city he had established. The final confrontation was as tragic as it was inevitable. The two armies clashed in the woods of Ephraim. During the chaotic battle, Absalom, famous for his long, beautiful hair, was riding his mule when his hair got caught in the branches of a large oak tree. He was left dangling, helpless. Against King David's explicit orders to spare his son, one of David's generals, Joab, found him and killed him. When the news of the victory reached David, there was no celebration. There was only the raw, agonizing cry of a broken father. He didn't ask about the battle or the kingdom. He only asked, "Is the young man Absalom safe?" When he learned the truth, his victory turned to ash. David, the great king, the unifier of Israel, the man after God's own heart, was left a broken man. He had secured his throne, but lost his own house. His final years were filled with turmoil, conflict, and grief, a shadow of the glorious leader he once was. His story serves as a powerful and timeless reminder that even the greatest among us are vulnerable to temptation, and that the consequences of our choices can echo with devastating power through generations. So this brings us to the ultimate question about his complex legacy. Was King David's tragic downfall a direct result of his own moral failures and personal choices, or was he a pawn in a larger, predetermined destiny that he could never truly escape? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.